6 signs he's breadcrumbing you. Well, let's imagine this. You're texting a guy who has just the right amount of charm to make your heart skip a beat, right? But when it comes to following through, it kind of goes super silent, crickets, like there's nothing. There's literally nothing. One moment, he's showering you with attention, calling you beautiful, and dropping like these sweet emojis left and right, and doing basically all the right things, right? And then next, he's disappeared, leaving you like rereading old text over and over again and wondering if you're overthinking or if you're just being played right now. It's frustrating, isn't it? That dance of highs and lows where you're stuck wondering if he's into you or if he's just like stringing you along for the ride. Well, here's the deal. You might be dealing with a breadcrumber, if we want to call it that way, right? And today we're diving into 6 signs that he's breadcrumbing you. What does it look like, and what they do in those kind of situations, why they do it, and how to break free from this cycle. So let's unpack this. Number 1, he texts you just enough to keep you hooked. So let's start with a texting game, because a lot of people, unfortunately, they're texting more than anything else, because this is where most breadcrumbers shine. He's the guy who sends you these good morning beautiful texts or these casual I miss you just when you're about to give up on him. These texts aren't random. They're quite calculated, actually. Think about it. Does he ever text with real intention? Does he ask about your day? Does he ask about like what's going on in your life? Does he dive into deep, meaningful conversations with you? Or does he make you feel seen? Or is it always the surface level, like he's just checking in to keep you on the hook? Breadcrumbers really thrive on just enough communication to keep you interested, but not enough to really build a real connection. You're waiting for him to follow up on that amazing text he sent last night. But then instead of continuing the conversation, he kind of disappears for hours or maybe days, or completely ignores that text at all until he sends you another good morning text. It's like he's throwing crumbs at you to keep you hanging on, but never really gives you the whole loaf. Or it's like he's just dangling the carrot, but he's never gonna allow you to taste the carrot, you know? The second point, he cancels plans last minute. Does that sound familiar to you? Like you finally make plans to hang out and you're genuinely excited. You've cleared your schedule, maybe even picked out a really beautiful outfit, but then 1 hour just before you're supposed to meet and you're already getting ready, he sends you this message, hey, something came up, rain check, can we do it another time? Breadcrumbers love to make plans they have no intention of keeping. Why? Because it gives you hope. It makes you think, it's like, well, at least he's trying. But here's the truth. His words and actions don't really align. He keeps you waiting, reschedules just enough to keep you in like this good grace kind of mood, and then vanishes again. This behavior isn't accidental. It's part of a pattern. And by canceling plans last minute, he avoids real effort while still leaving the door wide open for you to chase him. And let's be honest, you want someone that you don't have to chase. It's just naturally happen and both people are kind of choosing each other.
Ladies, stop chasing men. Even when he pulls back or loses interest, or you feel like he's slipping away from you, what you do in that moment can make all the difference between him feeling like you just like all the other women he's ever met, or it can make him realize and feel you're so unique and special, and exactly the type of woman he wants something real with. Something he wants to build with, causing him to chase you, to invest in you, and prove to you that he is the right man for you. There's this 12-word text message that you can send to a man that gets his attention almost immediately and makes him realize that it was a mistake to pull away from you in the first place. If you want to find out what that 12-word text message is, then I highly recommend you check out this brand new video that I created for you. I linked it in the description below. Just click the link, and now let's go back to the video.
Okay, let's go to the third point. He avoids defining the relationship. I talk about this in so many different ways. It's almost like I'm a parrot, Breadcrumbers, they live for the gray area, this ambiguous kind of way. When you bring up the talk about like what is going on with the two of you, he suddenly becomes the king of the vagueness. He'll say things like, I'm not into labels, or let's just see where this is going. I don't want to really define it. At first, this might sound really refreshing and nice, but then over time you realize there's no progress. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years sometimes, and you're still wondering, what are we? What's going on? What's our dynamic? Breadcrumbers don't want the responsibility of commitment, but they also don't want to lose you. So they keep things very ambiguous, ensure they have access to you and your time and your energy without actually offering any type of commitment or real security. It's super manipulative and it keeps you emotionally stuck, constantly guessing where you're gonna stand. And that's such a terrible place to be in. Okay, the fourth point. He makes big promises but never really follows through. Does he say things like, I can't wait to take you to this new beautiful restaurant, or we should totally go on a weekend trip together, and then never brings it up again? Breadcrumbers are like masters at talking the big game without actually following through whatsoever. They plant these ideas in your head about like these amazing things you guys could do together, but then when it actually comes to deliver, nothing happens. These promises aren't about like future plans. They're about like keeping you emotionally invested and creating this hope for you without actually never wanting to deliver. He might say things like, I've been thinking we should go on this romantic getaway soon, but then avoids the topic when you ask about specific dates. It's all smoke and mirrors. Enough to keep you dreaming, but then also definitely not enough to give you something that you really desire, or give you something real. The fifth point, he disappears and then he reappears again when it's convenient for him. One of the most frustrating things of a breadcrumber is the inconsistency. 1 week he's all in, texting, calling, maybe even making plans. Next week he's MIA. Then, just as you're like ready to move on, he shows up with this charming, beautiful message, or like a casual, hey stranger. This hot and cold behavior isn't accidental. I told you this before. It's very strategic. And by disappearing and reappearing, he keeps you emotionally unbalanced. He keeps you hooked. And when he's present, you feel hopeful. And when he's gone, you start questioning absolutely everything, and especially yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was there something wrong in the way how I like show up or communicate it? This cycle is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's a psychological tactic that keeps you hooked in. This unpredictability creates a craving for his attention because you never know when you're going to get it again. Okay, let's come to the sixth and last point. He makes you feel like you're asking for way too much. Let's say you finally confront him about his behavior. Maybe you ask why he doesn't text more often or why he keeps canceling plans. And instead of actually taking accountability, he flips the script, making you feel like you being needy, you being too demanding. This is a classic way of gaslighting. Breadcrumbers love to shift the blame onto you, making you question your own standards and basically getting rid of any accountability on their end. But here's the truth. Asking for consistency, for effort, for clarity isn't really too much. It's literally the bare minimum. You can totally ask for it and you should ask for it. And if he's making you feel like your basic needs are unreasonable, it's because he doesn't want to like meet them. That's it. And that's not the reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their inability to really step up. So yeah, breadcrumbing isn't just frustrating, it's totally exhausting, it's super draining, and it keeps you stuck in that loop, in that cycle of like chasing connection while questioning your own worth. It's like chasing hope, and then at the same time, they disappear again. You deserve so much more than these mixed signals and half-hearted efforts. You deserve someone who shows up fully all the time, makes you feel secure, and makes you feel valued for who you really are. So if these signs are sounding like a little too familiar to you, maybe it's time to step back and really ask yourself, wait a second, what's really going on here? Let me analyze this a little bit more objectively rather than just with my heart and rather just with my emotions, because my emotions, they want to tell me one very specific thing, right? So have you ever dealt with someone like that I just described with these 6 signs? Please share it in the comments. Let's have a chat about this. Like this video, comment, and also, as always, please subscribe to my channel.